Well, here I am on the farm, which is where I really love to be. I just love it. Beautiful backdrop in the mountains, just incredible. Now, one of the questions I often get asked is, how do I make a living? I cannot, by Thai law, work in Thailand without a work permit. I don't have a work permit. I have a retirement visa, and it's as simple as that. It doesn't allow me to undertake any type of work, whether it's free or paid. So I rely on a different source of income. And up until 3 days ago, that source of income, whilst it was meagre, was pretty stable. I run a small home and gardening blog. It's nothing huge. It generates approximately £175 a month. And £175 a month here is a huge amount of money. It's certainly a lot more than some Thais earn. So, you've got to be grateful for the small mercies that you have. But I said until a couple of days ago, because once again, Google has totally buggered me over. Basically what they've done, they've taken me off their index, which basically means if you try and do a search in Google for any home and garden related material, none of my pages will show up. They've basically taken me off their index. Essentially what they've done is they've accused me of spam, and my business practice is to publish articles for clients who require what we would term as a backlink, and basically it's just a link to their website. Google views this as a violation of their guidelines. In other words, they don't like little websites like mine selling backlinks for commercial gain. Of course, it's all I've got. I've had several issues with Google over the 7 years that I've been running Home Tipster, and in fact on 4 occasions I've had to pretty much rehash the entire website. But for now, there is nothing I can do. I can put in what they call a reconsideration request, but it will mean having to remove all the links that the clients have on each individual page. That being said, if I do that, of course, the clients are not going to be very happy. They're all going to come back to me and ask me for a refund, money which I don't have, because money that's been spent here. Again, it's not a huge amount of money. £175 a month is a very meagre living, but again, it was better than nothing. What I've done yesterday was to open up a new website called Vidi.co.uk. That's VIDDI.co.uk. I'll leave a link in the description below. Now, what Vidi's going to do is basically going to be just about me and my life here in Thailand as an expat. All the videos I make for YouTube, I'll be posting on there with longer descriptions to give you more information, background on areas, tourist attractions, places you can go and see, and what it's generally like to live in Thailand, including all the difficulties, the advantages and the disadvantages. It doesn't matter where you live in the world, there are always going to be issues, but most of these can be overcome with just taking a pragmatic approach to it. I will be honest, I was living in Phuket for 13 years, and my wife had a job there, a pretty good job. It paid well. In Thai standards, it paid very well, approximately £300 a month. So, things were okay, but she lost her job because the company she was working for went bust. So the only alternative we had left really was to move back here. I was very, very reluctant. I'm going to make a video of the house that we live in and show you around fully, and a lot of you will then see just how difficult it is living Thai style. The house, to say the least, is really, really basic. There's no heating, the house is not sealed, there's no windows to speak of, for instance glass, it's just open shutters. It gets very, very cold here in the winter, so it's just a case of wrapping up in lots of blankets. It is a very, very basic way of living. I also in order to try and turn things around and make money, I have a Patreon account, and I'll leave the link in that below. Basically what it is a crowdfunding website that allows people like you to support people like me through the content that we make. So I make content and you support me making that content. I've got three levels set up: $1, $5, $10. If you're happy enough to go on there and pledge $1 a month, I'd be more than grateful. It will help enormously, not with just sustaining myself and my wife and my adopted child, but obviously the family as well, her mum and dad. Just when you think things can't really get any worse, they did take a bit of a turn. Mother had a bit of an illness, ended up in hospital for 30 days. The little savings that we had left pretty much got wiped out. She had a spinal infection and now she's pretty much bedridden. She's back home, but she is bedridden, and the doctors are telling us it could take her 6 months before she fully recovers, but it's unlikely she'll ever be able to work on the farm again. But again, you know, I have a responsibility here to take care of my wife and my son, and of course, you know, if I can help with the in-laws, then, you know, I need to be able to do so. I do actually live under their roof, so it's only fair that I bring in some type of income and just help out, you know, if it's food, paying the electric bill, paying the internet, well, that's mine anyway, and paying the water. Most of our food actually comes from the farm. Vegetables, fruit we have to buy. We don't have any fruit growing here. Fish, well, you've often seen the pond, and we fish for our supper. But life is extremely difficult. So right now I'm back to square one. Approximately 7 years ago, I lost everything in a very messy divorce. I discovered that my ex-wife had a really bad gambling habit and had basically hocked the house, and she was Thai. Essentially what happened is that I'm not allowed to own land, so the house and the land went in her name while we were building this home, and she basically took out a promissory note against the property for a very small loan to fuel her gambling habit, and it turned out she couldn't afford to repay it. And then I discovered one morning that I no longer had a home. When I looked into my bank account, I had a total of $1.73. So she'd been waking up in the very early hours of the morning, taking my ATM card out of my pocket and basically cleaning out my bank account. I met Pi about 5 years ago. She had a son who was 3 years of age. He's never known his father, so I've become the father figure, and the little one's convinced that I'm his dad, and I'm quite happy with that. Obviously, as he gets older, we're going to have to explain the facts of life, but I'm happy to let the situation be as it is right now. He does need a father figure, and he does need somebody taking care of him, and he's a super little fella, as you can see in the other videos that I've made. So that's the situation. It's a little bit dire at the moment because now I have zero income. But again, if you can help support it through the Patreon, I'd be more than grateful. If you can't, that's fine. I do appreciate that there are other people out there far worse off than me. I also appreciate that most people are struggling to make ends meet anyway. If you can, however, just pop along to Vidi. Go and have a look at the videos on there. Any traffic to that site will eventually be able to attract, advertisers, not in the same format as Homes Hipster. It'll be purely advertising, which doesn't breach Google's guidelines. So if I can generate enough traffic on it, then I can attract advertisers, and then I can start making a few bucks again. The rice harvest is now finished, so most of that work is done. Just a case of tilling over the land and then preparing it all for the next rice planting season. This area here that I'm staying in now, the in-laws actually want to make into a pond. I said this the other day, and you can now see the scope of it, just how big it is. So we should be able to dig out approximately 1 to 2 meters, use the soil to build up the banks, and then from there the groundwater will pretty much take over. It'll start seeping up, plus we'll pump water in and fill up the pond. Or looking at the size of this, I'd really call it a lake. But I'm standing here right now, and I'll just show you down there. So all that area you see there is going to be lake, from basically where I'm standing here all the way up. Now we've already had 2 people in to quote for the work of digging it all out, and as you can see, it's an immense task. The first guy came in and he quoted 90,000 Thai baht approximately, but that was only a ballpark figure. He said it could be a little bit more. So we really thought that was very, very expensive. My father-in-law, he went out and basically turned around and said that you know, it was too much. He talked to a couple of his friends and they all agreed it was way too much, and this morning we've had 2 other guys come down here and have a look, and they've quoted us between 40 with a maximum of 48,000 baht. So that's, you know, half the price, so we're quite happy with that. To give you an idea in terms of pounds sterling, it's about £1,300, so it's, you know, still a huge amount of money. So it now means that somewhere we have to find that money to you know, dig out this pond, stock it with fish, and then, you know, try and farm it commercially. One of the things that I said to Pi was that if we could do this and do it properly, then there's no reason why we couldn't have fishermen come here and fish. The fish variety and species are really quite nice, and they're very, very good to eat. What we can do is sort of charge fishermen with rods, of course, not nets, but just rods to come down here and fish and do it cheap, you know, a couple of pounds for a day. There are plenty of tourists that come to Chiang, so if we can do this and we can attract the fishermen, there's lots of places that I know of around here, hotels, resorts, where I can find people accommodation. We're quite a way off from this point yet, but you know, it's a plan, and you know, something that we can work towards. It's just stunning, isn't it? Look at all that, and of course with those mountains. I mean, what a place to come and fish. I mean, I certainly love being here fishing on the pond we've got now, but this would just be immense, absolutely immense. So anyway, here we are, and that's the situation we're in. Yeah, I am bitter. I'm really, really angry, but you know, ultimately there's nothing I can do about it. You know, Google has a set of guidelines. It's their business, and if I break those guidelines, which they said I have, then they'll just take you off. Google does have the power to pretty much trash any website it likes, and it has done on several occasions with continuous updates to its algorithm base, which basically restricts web pages from getting any traffic. It is a continuous uphill battle trying to comply with Google's algorithms and their guidelines. It's a complete and utter nightmare. But it is what it is, and it's what I do and what I know, and I've been doing it for so long. There's really nothing else I can do. I certainly can't come back to the UK. For one, I'd never be able to bring my wife and child. I've already asked the UK embassy here, and they've said no, they would never get a visa. You know, I can't blame the UK, I can't blame the government, because simply the welfare system is abused enough, and then what they're worried about, of course, is her coming there and then having to live on state benefits. And this is pretty much where the pond stroke lake will end. There's my little chickens over there, look. I've got some new chickens this morning, they just hatched. I'd love to be able to go in there and show you, but I can't. It'd mean having to lift the mother up, which would disturb her, and they're probably at this stage maybe an hour or 2 old. So I'll leave it for a couple of days, and then I'll see about taking some footage of that. You can have a look at these But my boys have grown up real quick. Are they up? How nice is that? Now, many people might say, well, if you broke Google's guidelines, well, that's your problem. You know, you should know better, blah, blah, blah. And that's fair enough. Here's the issue I have. Google has ended up in both the European courts and the US courts over the years for manipulating their own algorithms so that search results produce Google content over that of their competitors. This comes from a company whose motto is don't do evil. Seriously. It's not just that. If you look at Google News, that in itself is a complete and utter farce. It breaks every single guideline that Google has ever written. What they essentially do is steal. Yes, they steal it. It's plagiarized content from news websites. It's basically copied and then churned out as Google News. Now, that in itself is an absolute farce, because if you have a website and you decide to copy content from another website, Google will penalise you for it straight away. So it's a complete and utter joke. And yeah, as you can see, I'm pretty miffed. I'm not a happy bunny at all. As I said, I didn't earn a huge amount of money, but the little that I did earn, it goes an awful long way. You know, but anyway, there's nothing I can do about it. I can put in a request to Google to reinstate my website, but as it is right now, they won't, not unless I remove those links. So yeah, I'm up the creek without a paddle. Well, not exactly. I do have a paddle. I have Vidi and I have the YouTube videos, and I'm hoping you'll continue to support it. I hope you'll watch the videos and subscribe and like. Just as a note, for those of you who don't really know how the internet works from a business perspective, the internet is all about it's all about likes, shares, subscribers. If you don't have any subscribers, if you don't get any likes, if people don't share your content on Facebook and Twitter and the rest of the social media, then you will not really ever make advances in the search results. What Google looks for is popularity. They want content that's popular with other people. So each subscription, each like, each share is considered as a vote for your website or web page, or your YouTube videos in this case. So please subscribe, please like, and share it with your friends. You know, whilst just remember we're all different. We all have different styles of making vlogs. I know I'm not exactly the most photogenic person in the world. People say I often look a little bit miserable. I don't feel overly comfortable standing in front of the camera. I never have. I have bad teeth, so I don't really like to smile too much. I'd love to get my teeth fixed, but can't. No money. And my priority is not me. My priority is my wife and my son. It's as simple as that. So don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, and please share it. You know, you might have friends out there that find this content highly amusing. Now, before I close, this video is going to leave me open to an awful lot of ridicule. Well, as far as I'm concerned, if you want to go in below and leave a derogatory comment, call me a loser, call me whatever you like. It'll be water off a duck's back and you'll be summarily annoyed. I don't bait. I can't be bothered with it. You can't bait me. I'll just take your worthless comment and I'll trash it and treat you with the contempt that you deserve. Just remember, we're all different. We all have hard times. I don't know of anybody in my life that hasn't gone through a period where they found life extremely difficult. So just remember, yeah, there for the grace of God go I. Because you could be next. Never say never. It could always happen. You've seen rich people lose everything and sleep on the street. I've seen people sleeping on the street and made a fortune. It's as simple as that. And we all go through life, and it consists of ups and downs, and you just have to deal with it. This is one of my lowest points in my life. I'm not going to say it isn't. I've got a huge amount of responsibility on my shoulders. I'm 52 years of age and I've got people to take care of, so it would be very helpful if you shared, if you subscribed, and don't forget to like. Come on guys. Okay, have a great day.